This segment is about parental rights to decide whether to immunize their children and the topic of herd immunity, which are related topics. In the first two short videos, you'll see Drs. Levy and Bowers discuss parental rights to immunize. They do reinforce with parents that it is their right to make a decision about immunization, but they also remind them that they need to be aware of the risks that they put their children under.
Find out what, if I have to get her vaccinated, or if I don't, if that's something that, I can choose not to do.
Okay. Well, in California, you can choose as a parent not to vaccinate your child, but you do leave them at risk. And the problem is that these are diseases which, for the most part, are potentially lethal. The one vaccine that we use called rotavirus, which you have to give as an infant, and I don't know if she got that when she was little, that can't be given later on. So if you miss that by the time you're about 5-6 months, then you don't have a chance to go back to it. But in fact, it's the one disease that in the US is not lethal, because you can put a baby in the hospital or a child in the hospital and put an IV in and keep them hydrated. It's just a terrible diarrheal illness with a risk of dehydration, and in many parts of the world it can be a lethal disease. But all of the others are potentially lethal, and I think it's important to understand that these are not small things.
It's my right to decide what's good and what's bad for my child. So what if I homeschool my son? Do I still need to give him vaccines or not?
So it's an excellent question, and number one, absolutely, you are the parent of Donovan. So just like with vaccines, you want to make sure that you're doing the right thing with him. Just like with around a pool, you're not going to let him be all by himself around a pool. You're going to be vigilant and you're going to be with him. Absolutely, it is your decision in the end to do what's best for Donovan. I hope that you think about the other potential morbidity and mortality of these diseases that are still there.
These next two clips will discuss the topics of herd immunity and whether homeschooled children are at decreased risk from vaccine-preventable disease. In this clip, Dr. Bowers addresses homeschooled children, and then she provides a very good approach to reminding parents of the many opportunities their children have to be exposed to infection, and that homeschooling doesn't really prevent that. This section also brings up the very important point that like-minded people tend to cluster in the same neighborhoods and playgroups and schools and activities, so that the children who delay vaccines are actually at higher risk because they're in the same environment with other unimmunized children. Dr. Mangine makes some other very good points about herd immunity in her segment.
With kids who are homeschooled, in theory, yes, they're spending more time in the home, so they don't have as much time out. However, most of those kids do have outside activities. They go to gymnastics class, they're doing horseback riding, they go to art camp, they go to the grocery store with their parents. They might fly on a plane somewhere to go visit family in other areas. So it's not that there's zero, they're not living in a bubble. You're hoping that everybody else is vaccinating and that the herd immunity for your child will be high enough that enough other people are vaccinated to help protect your child. Unfortunately, you can't guarantee that. Not everybody else is vaccinating, so the herd immunity is often lower than they think. And it's definitely lower in certain populations. So it's probably going to be lower among other homeschool kids because they may be, like-minded people, or particular schools in the area, maybe certain charter schools or certain public schools do have lower vaccination rates. Well, I'm not going to vaccinate because I know everybody else is vaccinating. Well, the issue is not everybody else is vaccinated.
If other people are protected, it does confer some herd immunity, but there is a problem with herd immunity. First of all, it's not 100%. Secondly, there are some people who cannot be vaccinated, for example, babies who are too young to receive their first vaccinations. A good example right now is the measles virus, which we don't vaccinate for babies under 12 months, so they are susceptible and can still contract and pass it to other people. The other concern with the herd immunity is that our immunization rates are declining, so you can't count on other people to be vaccinating too.
Herd immunity can be a difficult topic to discuss with parents. The way I try to explain it is to have parents imagine a school or a playgroup in which almost everybody's immunized. In that setting, if someone comes into that group who's not immunized or can't be immunized, the chances that they're going to get an infection is low. But if you take that same school or playgroup and let's say 2/3 of the children are immunized but 1/3 are not, then the chance of disease spreading within the school is much higher because not only one child gets it, but several children get it. And pretty soon, everybody's exposed to the disease.